So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't necessarily mean doing everything alone, um, and that success doesn't have to look able-bodied to be meaningful, you know?
Hi, I'm Leanne Watson. I'm so happy to have you here on our podcast talk show, You, Me and Muscular Dystrophy. I'll be asking 10 questions of this week's guest, exploring the humanity and experiences of living with MD. Hello and welcome back to You, Me and Muscular Dystrophy. Kelly Berger and Avery Roberts share their thoughts and journeys on life with a very rare disability in their own podcast, We'll Talk with Kelly and Avery. They're here with me today and can let us all know more about what has led this fun and vibrant duo to, and I paraphrase from their website, unapologetically claim space in a world that often overlooks them. Hello and welcome, Avery and Kelly.
Hi, thank you for
Hey,
having us.
Leanne. I'm
It's
excited
great
to be
having,
here.
and it's just so great having different people on with different forms of MD and, all the different directions that our lives take and, and what it means to us to live with a very rare and progressive illness. So, first question, what has congenital muscular dystrophy meant for you? Take it away, Kelly.
Me first. So for me, it just means going about life in a different way than what I thought. So I rely on a mobility device. So I'm in a power wheelchair, and I also rely on caregivers to help me day to day with activities and things. So I still find a way to do the things that I need to, as well as the things that I want to do. I just My day to day just looks different than most. So I'm very thankful and grateful for a positive support system and support team that's helps me with my life every day. So I'm appreciative of that.
Fantastic. And do you get sort of formal and informal supports where you are? You're in the US.
Yes, I am in the U.S. I'm in the States. Yeah, I live in a kind of a rural area of the states, so Ohio or Midwest, not a super huge city, so we don't really have Um, I live out in the suburbs, so not really public transit or things like that. So I'm kind of reliant on my own like accessible vehicle to get to appointments and to visit family and friends and um still find a way to make it work, but it's challenging for sure, as you know, I'm sure.
Good on you. And Avery, what does CMD mean for you?
So very similar to Kelly. Kelly and I both live with the same CMD subtype. So I am also a power wheelchair user. And, it just enables me to have independence and, to do things more efficiently. Yeah, that's Kelly kind of said it all. We're very similar. But
Have you had it?
but yeah.
Have you had the symptoms of congenital muscular dystrophy from birth?
Yeah, so my mom had a normal pregnancy, and then when I was born, I showed signs of neuromuscular disease. Both of my hips were dislocated. I had an open hip reduction fairly soon after, and then that just kind of put me on the path to how you would normally treat a neuromuscular disease. So, like physical therapy, occupational therapy, all the things. Then simultaneously, I was going through extensive and expensive genetic testing, and then also a muscle biopsy, which I feel like is how most people get diagnosed with MD, or at least used to. I feel like science has completely advanced since those days, but that's how I was diagnosed finally at 7 years old. Um, and yeah, it's just been a journey ever since.
And sorry, you both have the same subtype of CMD, don't you? And that
Yep,
in itself, so muscular dystrophy is not only rare disease, but CMD is, and then your subtype is even rarer again, you mention as well, you talk
exactly.
about too, don't you?
Yeah,
So,
Yeah,
so
it's
yeah,
a subtype of a subtype where we're in
Yeah.
a deep, deep little niche category of the CMDs. So yeah, it's wild to think that all the letters and numbers, you know.
Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
because I think most people, are more familiar with Duchenne or SMA, spinal muscular atrophy, or ALS. And so, um, but, C isn't really talked about that much. But really, congenital means at or soon after birth. So it's a progressive disorder. So either show you you present itself at birth or it presents itself later in life, but no matter what, it's kind of been with you since birth. Um,
And
yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, Avery. Is it something, because I know with LGMDs there's recessive and dominant types, depending on, like sometimes it can just be a spontaneous like thing that just happens. In my case, it's recessive, which means both mum and dad have a faulty or missing gene or whatever it is. I'm not 100% sure. Enzyme gene. Do you know how your CMD
Yeah,
It's
I
occurs?
think
really
it's a
spontaneous,
no, it
right,
can be
Kelly?
both though.
Okay.
I think you can be. I know I am personally a spontaneous one, but I know that also other forms of CMD can be inherited, I think, from other
Okay.
carriers. It just
Yeah.
depends. But I think it's
It's just
both. I'm pretty
interesting.
sure it's both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just is
Yeah.
interesting to me. And
Yeah.
I know none of us are scientists
Yeah.
or anything, but yeah,
Yeah.
I better put that disclaimer in there, everybody.
Right.
Most people,
Yeah.
I'm definitely not.
Don't take
And
medical advice from us.
no,
Yeah.
that's right, exactly. But there will be other advice here, I'm sure, that people will be able to
Yeah.
take as we go further down our list. When you were young, what did you each imagine your grown up life would look like? And how has this vision changed as CMD has impacted your life, if at all?
Yeah, for me, I think I still saw myself doing all the things. It was just figuring out how to. Like I knew that I wanted to go away college. I wanted to find a way to drive and just do all those things. I think I knew it was possible, but it was just like getting those steps and getting there, I think was probably the most challenging for me. Yeah, you just have to be really strong willed and self advocate and find a way to make it happen anyway.
Right. Yeah. And what about you, Abe?
I'd say as a kid, like imagined a pretty typical future, but maybe necessarily didn't think about like what it would look like and like was it even possible between like independent career I loved, travel, relationships. I think I knew that like maybe I knew it was possible, but that I'd have to work it and like really figure it out and adapt and that kind of stuff. I think I didn't picture disability being such a defining part of it because I didn't yet understand how progressive my condition was, and yet disability is such a huge part of like my disability doesn't define me, and yet it's such a huge part of my life because to me it's just become my purpose, like the disability community and really like my life's work advocating for disability inclusion and authentic disability representation and that kind of stuff. So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't necessarily mean doing everything alone, um, and that success doesn't have to look able-bodied to be meaningful, you know?
That's great, that explanation. Yeah, I can really sort of gel with that, with a lot of what you're saying. And, as much as we don't want our disabilities to define us, they just naturally have to, don't they? Because we are reliant a lot more than an able-bodied person would be. But I love how you say, Avery, your values haven't changed. It's just like the way you've got there, the way you're being able to
Exactly.
contribute and to be part of the community um, has been defined by MD. That's just lovely.
Mhm.
What is there anything you wished you had known when you were diagnosed?
I wish that I mean, there is no handbook or guide when they give you, your name, your final diagnosis. So that's just kind of hard itself. I think I wish I was maybe given like, well, it's not probably a privacy issue, but just a community or a space to find people like me easier. I feel like it's a lot of deep searching on the interwebs of like, where are my people at? To really support you and understand you on a deeper level of exactly what you're going through. Is that so hard to find? Because community really is everything in your journey.
Exactly.
Would you say that too, Avery?
So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't. So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't. So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't. So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't. So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't. So I think the vision changed, but the value didn't in a way. I think my life looks a little different than maybe I imagined, between mobility devices and just medical care and a bunch of different, doctor's appointments and all the things that come with living this MD life, but it's still so full. And I've learned that independence doesn't necessarily mean doing everything alone, um, and that success doesn't have to look able-bodied to be meaningful, you know? I guess for me, it would be like, buckle up because you have no idea what's coming. Like, just the opportunities that we get, like, I think when you get that diagnosis, there's uncertainty, of what the future holds. And so if I had known, and I'm sure if my parents had known that, like, this is where I would lead and, just every my passion, like, because as a kid, I wasn't, like, completely tied to the disability community. I had known of the CMD community, but like any other kid, I also probably wanted nothing to do with it, It wasn't until I grew older that I was like, "Okay, wait, there is a community. It's a really cool, fun community who gets me, and we can share experiences and share, we can relate, share resources." I think there are times that, like, crazy medical things, have happened to me and Kelly, and I feel like the amount of times I go into a Facebook group and I'm trying to find, like, search, if that has happened to anybody else, just trying to find those, there's truly nothing like that when you find your community, and so I think that that shift taught me that accepting support can actually just expand your life instead of limiting it, for sure.
Brilliant. Did you both find there was a dearth of information from the medical profession as well? Like, how did you find the information they could give you on how to live with CMD and what to do going forward? Was there any real kind
Yeah,
of, yeah, clear help in that?
yeah, no, I don't think I was really given much of anything. I was just kinda like, "Here's your name, maybe don't Google it, give some time,"
Mm,
I don't know, I just was very like I said, there's no handbook, like, they didn't prep you or prepare you, it was mostly just you, gotta try to do a deep dive and search for
yeah,
yourself. I think you kinda know your body best, and I've learned to more listen to that and speak up when there's something that's not right or that maybe needs to be looked at again. I know that's doctors don't always get things right, that you may need a second or third opinion on things. But yeah, I don't really think that they properly prepare you. I don't know what the resolution is to that, really.
mm,
But yeah, I definitely think education and receiving those diagnoses needs to be improved for sure.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Just needs for, I think, part of what we're doing in our layman's way, and many other people now, with just sharing stories has got to be helpful for, the medical profession at some stage as well. Like as we keep going, it sort of helps with research and all that sort of thing too, as we've seen in the LGMD community with the Jane Foundation and other foundations. So hopefully, yeah, that'll kind of keep going for every type of dystrophy. What has been your most pivotal moment?
My most pivotal moment, probably was when I got behind the wheel of a vehicle for the first time. That was pretty life changing to have that independence and freedom and to be able to drive my own like that to me meant so much. That really was
And you
like
never thought
my
you'd be
pivotal.
able to?
No, when people told me that I would never drive, I wouldn't go to college. I was told early on not to believe those things and I didn't listen and I was like, watch me. And so I did all those things and yeah, so I'm really happy that I'm strong-willed in that way and advocating for myself and my needs, and I was able to achieve those things.
And what's your pivotal moment, Avery?
I would say so I am a professional dancer in New York City, and so I'm really passionate about representation in our entertainment industry. And a couple years ago, I became the first wheelchair user to dance on the Radio City Music Hall stage. And it was a really pivotal moment for me, and not only in my career, but also just our community. Like the fact that I basically made history like on that world-renowned stage, like, it wasn't just fulfilling for me, but the fact that then our community could see that on stage, like, our disability community, as well as the, like, over I think it was around, like, 3,000 people who saw it as well, like, I hopefully left with a totally new perspective on who, can dance, who can be in the industry, who, has talent, that kind of stuff. But, these high profile experiences, although some people might think that they're like, the best of the best, the most accommodating, they're often the ones that need the most education. And so that experience was really an eye opener for me in terms of how far we've come, but also how far we have to go. Uh, and so I think that was really my pivotal moment for sure.
That's really exciting. And have you noticed because I've heard from a few artists over the time that have, like woefully inadequate accessibility issues backstage and on stage and, toilets and that sort of thing. Did Radio City Hall. Was that
Radio City Musical, yeah.
musical? Was that, did that improve their accessibility or was that already good? Did
Uh,
you think?
no, it's still not great. To be one experience that I will never forget is that the first day of rehearsal was in a studio, or they call it a rehearsal hall there. And Radio City's like very old. It's probably one of the oldest theaters. And I had to go up, a bunch of different elevators to get to the rehearsal hall. And then all of a sudden, I get to a staircase, and they knew I was coming before because obviously I was like in the production, and they didn't notice that I was not going to be able to get to the rehearsal hall. And one, they weren't willing to move it. And two, there was like no other option. So basically, they carried a bunch of like stagehands, a bunch of guys just carried my chair up the flight of stairs. It was terrifying.
Yes.
But what was very ironic was that that same night, I was heading down to DC because it was Rare Disease Day, and I was heading down to Washington, DC for Rare Disease Week on Capitol Hill. And so it just felt very fitting that that type of experience had happened on Rare Disease Day, and I was heading down to Washington, DC to advocate for, like, to fix that, basically. And so that's a day I'll never forget. Probably another one of my pivotal moments.
No, terrifying. And down probably than going up.
Yes, yeah, it's
Gosh,
crazy.
but what a successful, great time for you. Where do you find your hope and joy? Avery, you can continue this time.
I find hope in the community, especially like other disabled people who get it without question, without explanation. I think that joy really, at least for me, comes from very like small, intentional moments, as well as just like my passion as well. I think also, like, on mine and Kelly's podcast, we have such, like, a connection, but we also bring, like, humor into it because you kinda have to, like, in this life, but also just, like, advocacy wins and knowing that my story might help someone else feel seen and heard and validated. I think that's kinda where I find my hope and joy. I think also just other people in the community, like, there are in like, our disability community, let alone the MD community, is just incredible, and everybody's doing amazing things, and it's just not amplified and seen enough, and so I feel like that's also what gives me hope, just kinda seeing what everybody else is doing and that we all also unite because there is power in numbers, and we come together as a collective. That also gives me hope as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer the joy one and say I get my joy out of just, like, turning on music and listen to a song that can
Don't get Gilly
totally change
started.
your mood and just, like, lift you up and get you through the hard times. I think that, yeah, music is pretty powerful in that way, and that's definitely what I turn to when I'm having a good day, bad day, whatever it may be. Just turn on some music for comfort and just get your mind out of the hard places and things after a long day. That's definitely how I get my joy out of.
I really enjoy music too, different types for different moods. It's really helpful. Who couldn't you live without and why? Kelly.
I would say my family, my support system. They've been my backbone through it all, and I've been there through the good, the bad, the ugly, and
Yeah,
yeah, I would just say my family is really there for me in that way. So I'm very blessed and happy to have them.
brilliant. Avery?
Just completely echoing what Kelly said. I think my support system, whether it be my family, chosen family, my boyfriend and friends, and just who show up consistently. I think just overall the people who don't just help physically, but also who respect me for who I am and see me for who I am. I think just treating me as like a whole person, not just a diagnosis. So I really don't think I could live without them, and I'm really grateful for
That's
them.
beautiful. It's beautiful. And what, going to the more like practical stuff, what device or gadget makes your life easier or more technological stuff, I suppose?
I would say definitely my power wheelchair without question. It's not just a mobility device for me. It's definitely independence and access and just overall safety as well. It really just allows me to participate in my life fully.
Yeah, I
Beautiful.
would agree. My power chair for sure, but I would also say my actual like accessible van. I so fond over,
Another
so
thing Kelly can
I know
stop
I don't
talking
shut up
about.
about I don't shut up about driving. But yeah, that's my baby, so definitely that has improved my life greatly, so there.
Yeah. What parts of your body are affected with congenital muscular dystrophy? Is that something that you'll be able to maintain for a lot longer as well?
Yeah, so it definitely, CMD affects, like, all the parts of the body. I would say it just depends person to person how weak you get,
Okay.
but yes, it is progressive, and I hope to maintain it for
Of
as
course.
long as I
Yeah.
can safely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, keep at it and all
So that's
that. I hope
brilliant.
to be driving for a long time, you hope, so,
Yeah. I
yes.
hope you are too. Yeah, I really hope you are too. I just asked that question because I do know that, other MDs progress differently and, you know, and
Yeah.
affect different things differently. So that's just wonderful. And I hope you can still keep driving for forever, hopefully.
Yes.
What resources helped you navigate your MD?
I would say each other. I would say literally individuals with MD are your best and
Yes,
biggest
agree.
resource. We are the most resourceful people. Talk to people that have been through it or who are going through it with you. Their info is invaluable.
Mm,
Definitely each other.
great. What about you, Avery?
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what Kelly said, I think just connecting with the disability community, both online and in person, just pure support just is just as, important as medical care, or I would
Yeah.
argue more important.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think just seeing people like just the full lives that they are while living with a disability definitely changed what I believed is possible. And I think also Kelly and I being role models for younger kids living with CMD and then also their parents, I think it has changed what they also believe is possible for whether it be in the here and now or even in the futures. Yeah.
That's brilliant. You say role models. Are you part of forums or, groups in your area? Or, like, do you sort of, are you part of, online groups or something that helps parents of children with CMD? Or are you talking about those, normal sort of community Facebook groups?
Really kind of both. I think Kelly and I are a part of, a bunch of different organizations, but I think both. And then also when you connect with someone, they then connect you with someone else and just we kind of build this whole community. So
So you've obviously noticed you've been able to help people and getting comments from parents, kind of thanking you
yeah.
for, yeah, for,
Yeah,
for providing insight.
our hearts are so full and
Yeah, that's great.
it's why we do what we do, and, Kelly and I think also wish that we had that when we were younger, and so, yeah, we will take time out of our night to hold a movie night with the younger girls or that kind of fun stuff so that they, 1, know that they can come to us with any question, but also that movie night doesn't need to be all about CMD, we can just be on as friends and have fun
Yeah.
and some girl time. So I think that's also something that Kelly and I wish maybe we had when we were younger and are just so happy and grateful that we can kind of build that platform in a way for them. So our girls, right, Kelly?
Yes, we're like obsessed with them.
And nearly finally, what is your advice to other people newly diagnosed?
I would say just that anything is possible still. I know getting a diagnosis can be daunting and depressing and a lot of just a mixture of emotions. And I think don't let that be the end all be all. I think that can be the start of your journey and not the end. So try to spin that into a new perspective and make it into a positive and seek out your community. Again, I can't express that enough how life changing that is to find your people. So lean on them for support.
Yep,
That's the best thing.
great advice. Avery?
I would say give yourself permission to grieve. I think find your community early. I think that is so important as well. I think ask questions, some people might not have the answers to them, but no question is a bad question. I think also don't measure your worth by what your body can do. I think your life can still be just, full and rich and you can still live just a meaningful and fruitful life, even if it looks a little bit different than how you expected. But I think Kelly and I are living proof that, like, if you put your mind to it, if you're passionate about something, if you want to, have a purpose in the world, like, by all means, you've got this and we're rooting for you. So yeah, I think also just connect with people. Like, Kelly and I love when people find us and connect with us and we make friends, we just please don't hesitate to reach out. Like, just we love connecting with people and sharing experiences and resources because I feel because if we can impact somebody's lives, like that's all that we would ever want.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and you do it with humour too. I can tell you're very engaging, community-minded people, and humour is like it really is easy to lose your humour sometimes. I've found that anyway, and you just really have to keep digging, don't you? And just like throwing everything up in the air, basically, assuming you can
Yeah,
use your hands,
exactly.
and just laugh about it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
then that's a big focus, isn't it, on your podcast?
yeah.
So the final thing really is where can we see you? You have sent me a list of links, which I will put on the show notes. And do you want to just spend, the last couple of minutes telling us more about your podcast and what our listeners could expect to hear from you?
For sure, yeah. So you can find our podcast called Real Talk with Kelly and Avery. It's at the Real Talk Pod on the socials. Those will be in the description, like we had said. We'd love for you to tune in and join the conversation, have a little fun, laugh, cry, all the things, whatever. We try to hit all the feels, and yeah, we're just excited to help support and amplify our other fellow disabled individuals.
Brilliant. Have you got more to add to that, Avery, at all?
I think just we hope to make people feel seen and heard and validated. And sometimes Kelly and I do solo episodes. Sometimes we have guests on because we like amplifying the disabled community's voices. But yeah, we just kind of bring conversations and topics to light that we think are brought to light enough and are often overlooked and dismissed. And so yeah, just come join the fun. That's really what it is.
I've also got you coming up. I'm doing a special edition rare diseases podcast episode where I'll do a collage of interviews with various people. And you, Avery and Kelly, have kindly offered to be part of those interviews. So I'm looking forward to the next little chat that we have as well on rare
Yeah,
diseases.
part two.
Yes, to be
Yeah,
continued. Yes.
yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
This is Leanne. Thanks for your time in listening to this podcast, You, Me and Muscular Dystrophy, gratefully produced and recorded on Wadawurrung Country in Victoria's south, and the soundtrack by Rex Banner is Santa Monica Breeze. To continue to help our community, it would be so great if you could like, share, subscribe and or comment on the show. Your feedback is always appreciated, and if you would like to be a guest, please contact me through Instagram, leannes_wheel_life, or email leanne@leanneswheellife.com. Take care until we come together on the next episode of You, Me and Muscular Dystrophy.